Coming up on this episode of The Village Idiom.
He was clipping his fingernails outside the window and they kept bouncing off the screen and hitting him in the face, and he kept being like, oh, that one went up my nose.
Dum dum da da, Village Idiom.
Hello and welcome to to yell right here. Hello and welcome to The Village Idiom.
We are a podcast that takes a popular saying and takes a shallow but hopefully comedic dive into its usage, its origins, and whatever else we feel like, but otherwise we just hang our directionless conversation on it.
No one does directionless quite like us.
No, my name is Jurassic Mark.
I'm Skinny.
And between us today we have a very special guest.
The
very own Chafanarchus.
No, stop.
Did I pronounce that right?
No. It's actually Farkinenko.
Farkinenko.
It's like the new creature on Sesame Street. There's the Snuffleupagus and the Farkinenko.
Snuffleupagus, Chafanarchus.
Oh, bird.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'm so happy.
We are very happy. Haven't seen you in a long time. This is great.
It's been at least a day.
This is a while. It's been like maybe months or Christmas. We did see you.
In passing.
Yeah, in
I
passing.
wasn't here at Christmas. I was in
No,
Florida.
when I saw you and then I was interrupted and you disappeared, and that was the end of that. It was like, hi, oh, 1 second, and then you were gone.
It's like David Copperfield.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, you seemed angry.
No.
Well, that's just how it goes. What was the story surrounding it?
Surrounding what?
Well, the last time you guys saw one another.
Oh, it was
I'm
here.
I'm sure it's a tall tale.
It was a Sunday morning.
Okay.
It was a gloomy day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud. And snow.
I had lunch plans with my father. So
Which is also my father.
That's crazy. Are you guys related?
No.
That's
this
the
is why
weird part of the
this is
story.
where the details get interesting. It all started 1941. I wasn't prepared.
I can't even
I
make
wasn't
up a good story.
Wasn't prepared for a tall tale. I should have been.
Well, speaking of tall tales, what are we talking about today?
Chicken George ain't no Cock.And.Bull.Story, boy.
Is that Eddie Murphy?
No, Chicken
George.
Chicken George? It's from
man.
Roots.
Ain't no Cock.And.Bull.Story.
Yeah. It's one of those phrases that is just not used.
No, it's
an idiom that is just...
It's not used by me, but as I was looking for sources and clips, I'm like, yeah, everybody says it.
Everybody does not say it.
Everybody. Every sitcom has had somebody go, oh, that's a cock and bull story.
Maybe it's so that you can say those words, because normally those words are in their varying forms impolite. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
To be clear, this is a family-friendly podcast.
Absolutely. So there's nothing related to any of those words.
No.
But sometimes in a normal cultural setting, they are not so used.
Right. But we will only use them in the true cock and bull story sense of the words.
I got one to get us going.
Okay, go.
Okay.
So, true story. It was a youth group thing, and so we were back in the day. Some of the girls were doing a dance routine, and we'll get into. I know you're a dancer. Some of the girls were doing a dance routine. They were having the rehearsal, and so the guys were like, "Man, we can go get to see them at the rehearsal, support them." So we go up to their little rehearsal thing. It's like, "You can't be here. It's like this is a closed rehearsal, and no one can be here." And so it was like, "Okay, now it's on. Challenge accepted." And so one of the guys' mom worked at an antique store, and she had this crazy mail delivery van, like just this big van for like firing furniture and whatnot into. And so we loaded up guys into a large rolly bin, like one of those like cargo bins for like if you're like on the road with
like a roadie gear bin.
That sort of thing. A couple guys in there with walkie-talkies. The little walkie-talkie headset. We put that in the van, backed the van up to the same thing. Same guys, same us, inside of overalls. It's like, okay, we just got to get the gear in. Okay, sir, no problem. They open up the doors for us now so that we can go and put the gear into the studio where the dance routine was happening. So the same guys that said get lost were now the guys opening the door. So we were super excited about this, and so get the guys in, wheel them in, put them in the back, and so we leave. We're out in the van. Now it's just walkie-talkie. It's like, okay, man, what's happening in there? It's like just a second up. I'm gonna lift the lid up. It says as soon as he lifts the lid up, there's like a pair of eyes looking in at him was like a little sister or something that happened to be there and was looking at him, and then he closed the eyes back, closed the lid back down. So he's like, there was somebody there. They're staring right at me. We're so busted right now. Like, we're not busted. You're the one in the box. And so the next thing, clunk, 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 clunk. Squeak! The lid opens up, and the man who opens it up, he doesn't have a regular arm. He has a hook for a hand.
What? This is real.
He's a guy who has gone through whatever life situation that has left him handless, and so he actually has a hook for a hand. So he starts like, what do you guys do to here? You guys can't be here, and blah blah blah, flailing around his hook for a hand.
Everyone's well catches a light.
And so they jump out of the box, run to the van. We're all howling, laughing, coming around to the side of the block. Anyways, they follow us. They're like, we're calling the cops or whatever. You can't be in here, and this closed the thing, and there's kids here. And
are you scared or are you laughing or both?
Well, laughing at the whole thing because it's so ridiculous and scared. But because the cops are coming and we're going.
That is elaborate.
Yeah. And that is a Cock-And-Bull story.
Well, technically, it's not a Cock-And-Bull story.
I was going to say, I don't understand how that is.
But it is an elaborate story because typically a Cock-And-Bull story is false. Or you're using it to boast or use it, but it's highly exaggerated.
I don't know how I would exaggerate this story. It is, like,
I thought it was all true until it was like, and then with his hook, I'm like, okay, this is not real.
No, the whole story is true.
Okay, well, so to go with
happened?
Yes.
Oh,
one of the people was your brother-in-law.
Oh, there you go.
So technically not a Cock-And-Bull story, but I've also got a technically not Cock-And-Bull story that applies to Cock-And-Bull. So when I was 2, 3, 4 years old, we lived on a farm, and part of the rent situation was my dad would help out on this farm, and there was a bull in the barn, and in a cartoon the bull has like a big gold ring in his nose. So I've never seen that in real life before or since, but the bull on that farm had a big ring in his nose, and anytime I walked into the barn, something about me the bull didn't like, and like those are, I don't know, like 2 tons of bull, right? Like it's huge. And that thing would buckle. My dad just grabs that ring. That's why they do it. They put a ring between the nose, right? And he'll just put his finger in the ring and twist it. And the bull just like...
There's some people I've wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So those punk people out on the street.
The bull didn't like me. There was also a rooster that came at me. But the rooster went at everybody. It was just an attacking rooster. And so if I was with my dad, he would carry a shovel. But I remember, like, I was probably 3 years old, and I can picture to this day walking out there, and the rooster just like comes at me, and he's got this shovel, and he clocks that cock in the head.
Oh, no.
That rooster went flying. Chickens don't fly. That thing flew, and then just shakes his head and walks away. But I'm like, I don't know how it lived.
Oh my!
So that's my Cock-And-Bull story.
You have an actual Cock-And-Bull.
Cock-And-Bull. So anyway, elaborate. 2 definitions that I jotted down: an obviously false story used for boasting, especially as an excuse, or 2, an absurd or highly exaggerated tale passed off as being true. So neither of us came up with a Cock-And-Bull story. But before we get into origins and stuff, have you ever heard of Cock-And-Bull ginger beer? Well,
what?
These are for you guys.
Well,
twist
thank
off.
you.
Cock-And-Bull ginger beer, which has an interesting
ASMR.
Did you hear it?
Oh. Did you previously drink from mine?
I can't even open mine.
Do you need help?
Yeah.
Oh no! It was like,
anyway, while you're trying to open that for me, so ginger
This
beer.
is the joke. It's
good
Ginger
noise,
beer
though.
existed in England, but it was hard to get in America. This is like 1940s. And so the inventor of American ginger beer was a guy named Jack Morgan who owned a restaurant called Cock-And-Bull. And so he invented the first American ginger beer called Cock-And-Bull. Still exists. We're drinking it right now. Do you like ginger beer?
I don't know if I've ever
Take
had
a big swig.
cheers.
Here we go.
Cheers, my friends.
Oh.
This is ginger beer. Wait a second. ASMR.
So he invented ginger beer
That's delicious.
in America. This is not
it's
as strong as
spicy.
ginger beer
Spicy
gets.
tail end?
But yeah, it's got an aftertaste. And so here's the interesting thing about this. He invented it because he was just a ginger-loving, whatever, non-alcoholic and he invented it, owns this restaurant, but it doesn't do that well. At the same time, John Martin had just acquired Smirnoff vodka and couldn't get it off the ground. He also owned A1 sauce, which was flying. He was doing great, but couldn't sell vodka. Americans really weren't into vodka. It was just too Russian for America at that point. So it was all about beer, whiskey, and whatever. And they got together. And he's like, I've got this basement full of vodka. I've got this ginger beer I've invented. Let's come up with a drink. And so they just powwow a little bit. Let's add some lime. And they come up with this drink. They're so excited. This is 1941. At the exact same time...
Copper mugs here?
Yeah, exact same time, Sophie Berezhinsky comes from Russia with nothing but 2,000 handmade copper mugs that her dad invented and created. Comes into the same restaurant trying to sell her copper mugs while they're inventing this drink. And so from day one, the Moscow Mule only was served in copper mugs because those three were all struggling with their individual ideas. Smirnoff wasn't moving. Ginger beer wasn't moving. Her copper mugs nobody wanted.
What a cool story.
Moscow Mule.
That's a cock and bull story.
Yeah, except it's also true. We're failing at this cock and bull story.
How about you tell us a bit about your life, your world, in such a way that...
It applies only to the
I
cock and bull story.
now I'm panicking.
Come closer to me.
I don't know if I have a cock and bull story.
You're full of tall tales, I'm sure. Tell us one of your dance stories. You're a noun prima.
Not a prima.
Specifically, or not just specifically, but
Or specifically.
you do Ukrainian dance.
I do Ukrainian dance.
And teach.
I teach
and
Ukrainian
perform and compete.
I don't really perform and compete anymore because I teach.
Okay.
I have people that do that for me.
But you guys do.
My people.
My people.
You guys do well.
We're all right.
You guys do really good.
I've seen awards and things.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're good. We're not. We do all right.
I have danced with you.
Yes, you
I have danced for your team.
You did something
Yeah,
with us.
we need to throw out like if
I'll throw up a card on the YouTube channel anyway.
yeah, you need to see Skinny get involved in the Ukrainian dance during his 3 Minutes Gone series.
To be fair, you did pretty good. You did all right.
For someone of your girth.
Well, let's just put this in.
Someone who can't really bend your knees well.
You did great
Let's put this into perspective, though, because I said your competitive team does well. You're like, we do all right. And then when you talk to a Skinny, you're like, oh, you did all right. Like, those are two different all rights,
So
right?
basically your team is amazing.
I have
Trying to be modest.
I have to assume the word all right has two different meanings in those two examples.
I mean,
Ginger beer is a lovely snack. Thank you.
it's
right?
nice.
Thank
I
you
don't
for
know if
bringing
I
that.
like the.
Afterbite?
It stays with you. It's got a spice.
got a
And this is a mild one. We've had some that are just like burn all the way down.
I was thinking about this whole cock and bull story because when you speak with somebody, you say, "Oh, that's bull," which basically is like that's lying. So it doesn't have to be that it's any non-PG expletives. It's just that's bull.
Yeah,
Because
and
it's all from the cock and bull.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get into origins in a second here, but I never throw a shout out to where I find any of our research done. I'm just like, because it's usually a million places and kind of down rabbit trails. But I'm throwing one out to cockandbull.org, which is not a drink, not about the idiom. It is
dedicated to
It is a game, a card game,
Really?
dice game. And it's the American pub game, Cock and Bull. And their website was so full of information that I used their website to find out all these other things and then rabbit trail off of that. And not only that, they convinced me, I ordered their game.
Really?
Yeah. So if I had seen this earlier, if we planned ahead ever,
Sponsored.
I would have had the game here
that
for
would've
that
been
too.
fun.
We could have talked about that. But
If you
yeah,
get it, call me back.
I will. So should we get into it?
Yeah, where does this thing actually even come from?
I said some words, where'd they go? Where'd they go? No one can know. I turned around, looked behind. Those words came from another mind. Origins.
What is that?
What was that sound?
That's not you two, right?
No, that's Dobby Ravies.
Dobby Rabies gave us a little jingle just for getting into our origins section.
One of our listeners put that together for us.
So as we will soon find out, there is no cursingness to this cock and bull story at all. It's neither the C word nor the BS word. There are a variety of supposed origins. So we're going to start with some of the basic ones and get into the more interesting ones. So first, there's the first short story in the collection of stories in Arabian Nights, which I will not read today because it actually, in my opinion, is quite demeaning to women.
Okay.
But there's a variety of talking animals, and the two main ones are a cock and a bull that are talking. So some people believe it came from that. There's also Danish roots. One source claims that the phrase is a corruption of, quote, a concocted and bully story. So concocted and bully, cock and bull story, being further corruption of the Danish word bullen, which actually means exaggerated. So some people believe it comes from that.
That's actually interesting.
Then there's the French. Then there's the French variation. The early 17th.
Did you side belch?
I did. This ginger beers, like
Blow on Larissa.
you got sushi breath and cock and bull ginger beer breath.
Seaweed stuck in your teeth. It's disgusting.
Early 17th century French term coq à l'âne is included in a dictionary of French and English tongues, and it has a direct connection to a Scottish word, which is coq-à-l'âne, one word, coq-à-l'âne. And it's a Scot translation of the French word du coq à l'âne, which also means from rooster to donkey. And in Scotland, it literally means a story that begins with a rooster, ends with a donkey. It's a made-up story. So also very believable that that's where it comes from. Did you just side belch?
That one came out my nose. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to blow nose gases at
So
our
happy to be
guest.
treated like a lady here.
This is our
So much respect.
first female guest, and what a
just like
classy bunch we
Gaseous
are.
Factory. So terrible.
Okay, then there's the English origin. From John Day's play Law Tricks, or Who Would Have Thought It, in 1608, in the play it says, "What a tale of cock and bull he told my father." So that's 1608. It's the first time it's used in English. There's another one in 1621. "Some men's whole delight is to talk of cock and bull over a pot." That's The Anatomy of Melancholy from Robert Burton. So that's the English origin. And there's a couple more examples, but here's the one that everybody's been waiting for. The one that comes up most often with Cock and Bull Story is the two coaching inns. Did you hear about this?
Yes, this is the one I heard of.
Yeah. So in Stony Stratford, Buckinghamshire, which I had to practice saying, I could say Buckingham and I could say Buckshire. Buckinghamshire had too many syllables. Took a while. In England, was back in the day, like we're talking 1100s, 1200s, was an early stop for passengers on coaches. So whether it's the mail or people, that was a stop. And so it dates back to the 18th, 19th, some sources say even 16th century, that these two coaching inns popped up. These hotels popped up near each other. One was called the Cock and one was called the Bull.
Right.
And they basically, the two establishments rapidly developed like a rivalry of storytelling of who could furnish kind of the most outlandish travelers' tales, people staying in their hotels and their inns, in their inn.
Do you know what I've heard is that the bull was actually called the infamous bull with two N's. Infamous.
Oh.
I think
Wow.
that's cool, right? People back then were smart.
That's good stuff.
Both of these hotels still exist today.
Really?
Both of them exist. The Cock and Bull stories came from those two. This is the most popular version of where this came from. But if you look it up, it doesn't really jive with timeline, which happens a lot of time when we look at these. Look at the actual years where things took place, because some of the quotes, even in English only, are as early as 1608, and the Cock Inn or hotel. You okay over there? Ginger beer. It's been around since I think it was, anyways, the 15th century something. But the bull, I couldn't find anything. The infamous bull, I couldn't find any information. So I contacted them.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, just doing some research, and so much history in your city, so much history between, and
You called England?
yeah. Well, I messaged them.
Okay.
So, but Stony Stratford, if you look up Stony Stratford, it's literally like the whole town prides themselves. We made up Cock and Bull. That's us. Like it's on like
It's
there's
like Sleepy Hollow's Headless Horseman.
yeah, like
make
they're
Cock-and-Bull.
so happy that they made it up, even though it's probably not true. But so I contact, hey, interested in blah blah
Hopefully they
blah,
don't listen to your
and they're
podcast.
like, we
Well,
have.
they're gonna search it.
They don't know. They don't know. And so the first reference that anybody can find is later than the in-print versions of Cock and Bull being referred to as the way it's used now as an idiom. So probably not from the two ends, but yeah.
On the international one, there's some really cool information in there. When I was searching on the international type of way, up came a news story from 3 months ago in Spain. And so this is an actual thing. Gonzalo Caballero in Spain 3 months ago, October, bullfighter. I was searching up bull-related nonsense and bullfighter, and he was gored twice in the groin at his last event. And so he stabbed the bull once in the neck, got speared 3 times in the back, the bull did. And so the bull's retaliation was 2 stabs to the groin, 1 25-centimeter gash, and a 30-centimeter gash, however, wherever, into the groin. This true story, bull story. Didn't kill him, but it nearly
But
wrecked
he wished it did.
It nearly wrecked him. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness.
No. but that
Was the story true?
the story's true.
Okay.
That sounds awful.
Anything that lands on a punchline, I'm like, that was all made up.
No, it's gonna be that's difficult on the whole to experience something like that.
It's difficult on the whole for sure.
That's definitely. It's like taint that a shame. So, yeah, it's terrible, but true story that this bull gored him twice in the nether regions.
Wow.
It's funny when you're doing the research on these things, like,
No.
yeah, it's true story. True story. Sometimes worse than an actual cock and bull story.
Yeah. I remember, too long. I was going to say, I just remembered a Cock and Bull story I was told that was totally something, but it'll
I
actually.
thought of a Cock-and-Bull.
A Cock and the Bull.
Cock-and-Bull story.
Swedish chef.
What do you got?
Okay, so when I was a kid, my parents used to tell me that chicken eggs were fertilized by the rooster pecking them with their beak and injecting their
Male stuff?
There.
Yep.
male
Rooster juice.
rooster juice into the egg, and that's how the egg hatched, and that's how there was a chicken. And so
That'd be a good band name.
the ones you ate, rooster.
Please welcome to the stage, Rooster Juice.
Oh my goodness.
So like
I've
the
never
ones.
look at Booster Juice the same.
Oh no.
It's Rooster Juice now.
Anyways, I was very old when I realized that was not true.
Oh, I love
I
parrots.
actually think you're the one who told me the truth about chickens.
I have no idea how you segued into that conversation.
I was just going to say,
By the way,
how would we have even had that conversation?
That's funny.
No.
Probably because you told that story, and I'm like,
It's
no.
possible. It was like, oh, this chicken obviously is not
Because it's
rooster juice.
got no cracks.
Exactly.
Say no to crack. Oh my goodness, good stuff.
It's funny on those things because the three of us were co-workers for a while.
Uh-huh.
And through and I,
Yeah, that was lots of fun.
Wow. Welcome back.
remember torturing you,
Yeah.
finding out things. It's like find out what she doesn't enjoy,
Yeah.
and then do that.
Yeah.
And so it turns out that what drives her mental is when you clip your toenails in front of her.
That's disgusting.
Is it the sound?
It's disgusting. It's the
What about
sound.
clipping your fingernails?
No, it's still gross. Like things.
Why, even as coworkers, did you see him clipping his toenails?
Because he came into my office, put his feet up on my desk, and started clipping his toenails on my desk. And then one time he went out of the office.
This is a cock and bull story. That never happened.
Nope, definitely happened. He went outside. I remember this specifically.
Specifically.
He was clipping his fingernails outside the window, and they kept bouncing off the screen and hitting him in the face. And he kept being like, "Oh, that one went up my nose." It's like, this is the worst job ever.
This is like we just haze employees.
So, why did you quit?
I went to Disney World.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you went to work for Disney.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Oh,
Yeah.
speaking
From
of
one-
Disney.
From one paradise to another.
Good segue here. Speaking of Disney, got the new Disney Plus. I'm going to play you a clip. Thankfully, this entire series is on Disney Plus. But I will say I almost didn't because when Beetlebat was here, we were chatting afterwards, and I'm like, I was going to make you guess the clips. He goes, I can guess next week's. I'm like, I haven't even picked next week's. It's going to be something from The Simpsons because it just so often is. Anyway, here we go. Here's one from Disney Plus just for today.
We have a new student, Lisa, and I want you to show her the works. The lunchroom, the tree. But when you get to the trophy case, give her some Cock-and-Bull story. They're out for cleaning or whatever.
So I might have to take a break from The Simpsons because apparently I draw on them a lot.
Well, if their body of work is so massive that they've covered everything eventually.
That's right.
That's good. Well, we're kind of heading into
Final stretch?
the final stretch here, so we should get to the Riddling.
Well, Riddling.
What's that about?
Riddle Link is a game we like to play. We've been playing it for a long time, Trafanarchus. And
Is my name going to change? I'd like a new one.
Eventually.
No.
A combination thereof.
Getting a new boyfriend.
It's a game we like to play. It is a two-part trivia-based question that requires a two-part but overlapping answer. And so, for example, last week, swallow the ginger beer in my mouth. Last week, our idiom was the pot calling the kettle black, and this was the idiom that we left for our illegitimate children out there. It is our first clip that we played in this episode was from this movie featuring this song from Iron Maiden. So there's a lot of you had to have listened to the podcast. There's no guessing. So the clip we played came from Trading Places, and the Iron Maiden song was Aces High. So Trading Places High. That's how you play the game. We had a few right answers out there. Thank you for playing every time you play. And we're going to leave you one at the end here where you can guess at home. Illegitimate children, by the way, is our listeners.
Oh.
You're looking at me blankly. Obviously, you're an avid listener.
Yeah, I listen every week.
Yeah, that's a Cock-and-Bull story.
Finally, there's one.
Finally, there's one.
I've
Okay.
listened to like
Okay, see if you can
The beginning.
You can see if you can follow this along. The overlapping riddle with the overlapping answer. The capital of Thailand got its name from this unbelievable tale.
I know it.
What is it?
Wait, I have to think.
That's okay. Capital of Thailand.
Cock-and-Bull?
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's Bangkok and Bull Story. Yeah,
Ah.
that's it. So you're
I'm smart.
SMRT.
SMRT.
Okay, I got one for you.
Okay.
See, I got to decide which one. I'll give you this one. Telling a tall tale about these cream-filled sandwich cookies.
Cream Oreos. Telling a tall tale. So like a cock-and-bull.
Cock-and-bull what?
Cock-and-Bull.
Cock
It's a Cock-and-Bull story.
Bull
Story.
Yeah, there you go.
Storio.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh.
It's a Cock-and-Bull
Cock-and-Bull
story.
Storios.
Storios.
Okay, I got one more.
I'm not good at these at all.
You got both of them.
I tried once on Instagram and it was someone replied and they were like, nope, wrong answer. And I was like, oh, well,
I'm
I'm
out.
not going to play anymore.
Oh, that's probably me.
Probably.
Okay. A fancy narrative for the Once Upon a Time town.
A fancy narrative for Once Upon a Time.
Oh, what's the town called?
Smallville. No.
No.
Storybrooke.
Storybrook.
Storyland.
Storybrook.
Is it Brook?
Yeah.
Storybrooke. So Cock-and-Bull Storybrooke.
Cock-and-Bull Storybrooke. Very nice.
Teamwork.
I don't think I understand this game.
You gotta get
So it's Cock-and-Bull Story
Cock-and-Bull story.
and Storybrooke. So
Oh,
it's
the word
overlaps.
story is in it. See, I'm just thinking cock and bull.
Yeah,
I'm
we-
not thinking that's Storio. I get it. Well, let's play again. Give me another.
We got one
I'll
more.
give you one more, but don't answer.
You can't answer
Just
this
think
one.
it. Think it. You know what?
Finally got the game.
You can yell it out if you want. Whatever.
Whatever happens. So, in order to reach us, if hypothetically this doesn't get answered right now, you can reach us on Instagram at the.village.idiom or email us at thevillageidiompodcast@gmail.com or reach out on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter at 3 Minutes Gone.
3 minutes gone. So before we give our last one, thank you for being here today.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
We have a very limited edition of our Village Idiom T-shirt for you to wear
Thank you very much.
every single day and post online whenever you can.
Okay. Do I get paid for that?
If you listen to this or if you watch, especially if you watch on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already. We're nearing up a magic number and we'd really like to hit that number.
Watch all the episodes. They're so good.
That's why she got the T-shirt.
Cock-and-Bull. Cock-and-Bull.Story.
All right, everybody, here's the last riddling for the day before we go. It's this. The inventor of the American Cock-and-Bull ginger beer. Do you remember what I said?
No, I'm out already.
Doesn't mind if you use his lungs when he's done. The inventor of the American Cock-and-Bull ginger beer doesn't mind if you use his lungs when he's done. That's it. Send in your answers.
It's been so fun putting it together. We've enjoyed doing it. We hope you've enjoyed listening. I'm Skinny.
I'm Jurassic Mark.
I don't want to say it.
Do it.
Gotta say
ASMR.
ASMR.
Farkin' ankle.
Yeah.
And these are the Village Idioms.
Oh, gosh.
Tale of Cock-and-Bull.
Last 3 minutes gone.